projector suddenly flared to life. But instead of a beautiful slideshow of the happy couple, giant bold letters filled the screen, broadcasting my private shame to 200 laughing guests. Infertile, divorced, loser, college dropout, penniless, forgotten. The ballroom exploded into cruel laughter. My sister smirked into her microphone, whispering loudly, "Be careful, everyone. She might burst into tears." Mom elegantly sipped her champagne, looking away, while Dad grinned at my burning face and muttered, "Lighten up, honey. It's just a joke." They truly believed they had destroyed my dignity forever to make my sister shine. But they didn't know I was entirely prepared for this betrayal. Keeping my eyes locked on my family, I picked up my phone, opened a text thread, and sent just one single word: now. Instantly, the projector blinked out, and the entire room went completely silent. My name is Amber, and at 27 years old, I was supposed to be a mature adult who could handle anything life threw at my way. But nothing prepares you for the absolute cruelty of your own flesh and blood. Standing there in that crowded ballroom, the harsh light from the projector illuminated my burning face, casting a shadow over what little dignity I had left. The image on the screen, detailing every failure of my life in bold, yellow letters, felt like a physical slap. For years, my family had treated me as the ultimate black sheep, a convenient contrast to make my perfect golden child sister, Natalie, shine even brighter. Tonight was her crowning achievement, a $1 million wedding funded by high society pretension, and they had decided that my public humiliation would be the perfect entertainment for her reception guests. But as the laughter reached a deafening crescendo, I pressed send on that single word text message, now. The effect was instantaneous. The projector screen suddenly flickered, hissed, and blinked completely out, plunging the main stage into a sudden darkness. The cruel snickers died in 100 throats, replaced by a heavy, breathless murmur of confusion. Natalie's smug grin vanished, her hand freezing on the microphone as she looked around desperately. Mom choked on her champagne, and Dad's eyes widened as the venue's lights dimly shifted. They thought they had finally broken me, but the silence that followed was just the quiet before their entire world collapsed. To understand how we arrived at that breathless silence in the ballroom, you have to look back at the months leading up to this wedding. Natalie had always been the golden child, the daughter who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. When she announced her engagement to Julian, the heir to a massive real estate empire, my parents practically tripped over themselves to plan a wedding that would cement their status in high society. There was only one problem. They couldn't afford it. Or rather, they claimed they couldn't. Dad sat me down in his office, using that stern, manipulative tone he always reserved for me. He told me that as the older sister, it was my family duty to contribute. He forced me to liquidate my modest savings and hand over a massive portion of my hard-earned income to fund their catering and floral arrangements. They took my money without a single thank you, yet at every family dinner, they continuously downplayed my career achievements, treating my hard work as nothing more than a hobby. Meanwhile, they never missed an opportunity to mock my past personal struggles. My painful divorce, which had left me emotionally shattered, was treated as a regular punchline. Natalie would loudly wonder how I could ever expect to keep a job if I couldn't even keep a husband. My parents would laugh, agreeing that I lacked the discipline to succeed in life. They systematically stripped away my confidence while using my own money to build Natalie's fairy tale illusion. I was nothing more than an ATM and a prop to them. The flawed, messy older sister meant to make the perfect bride look even more flawless. The illusion began to shatter just 2 weeks before the big day, all because of a single, careless mistake on my father's part. He had asked me to run a last-minute errand to his home office to retrieve a signed vendor contract for the venue. While digging through his oak desk to find the right folder, my hand brushed against a hidden latch at the back of the bottom drawer. The false bottom popped open, revealing a thick manila envelope crammed with financial documents. Curiosity got the better of me, and as I scanned the pages, the cold reality of my family's betrayal settled deep into my stomach. The documents revealed that our family's prestigious, high society wealth was a complete lie. For the past 3 years, my parents had been systematically embezzling money from a private trust fund left behind by my late grandmother, a trust fund explicitly meant to secure my future alone. Even worse, the printed text messages and emails stuffed inside the envelope proved that Natalie and her fiancé, Julian, were fully aware of the theft. They had been actively conspiring with my parents, using my stolen inheritance to fund their luxurious lifestyles, their sports cars, and this very million-dollar wedding. I stood in that silent office, staring at the evidence of their greed. They hadn't just drained my bank accounts by forcing me to pay for the catering. They had stolen millions of dollars that legally belonged to me, all while calling me a penniless loser to my face. The burning humiliation I had carried for years instantly hardened into a freezing, razor-sharp clarity. They wanted to use my life as a punchline, but they had just handed me the rope to hang them with. I want to pause my story right here because I need to ask you a very honest question. If you found out that your own flesh and blood had systematically stolen your entire future, drained your inheritance, and then turned around to mock your deepest personal pain on a giant projector screen for their friends to laugh at, what would you do? Would you swallow your pride, walk away quietly to preserve the family peace, or would you stand your ground and make absolutely sure that they paid for every single ounce of cruelty they inflicted on watching this video from so I can see exactly how far my story has reached, and tell me honestly how you would react in my place? Because what I did next changed everything, and the trap I set for them was about to turn my sister's perfect fairy tale wedding into their worst nightmare. With the cold proof of their betrayal tucked safely in my bag, I didn't storm into the house screaming or cause a massive scene. That was exactly what they would expect from the dramatic, unstable sister they had spent years inventing. Instead, I chose to play the part of the compliant, broken black sheep for just a few days longer while I silently set my trap. The very next morning, I bypassed our regular along with a highly experienced private investigator. Together, they worked around the clock, legally documenting every forged signature, tracing the hidden shell accounts, and compiling an unassailable mountain of evidence. But the investigator uncovered one final piece of the puzzle that truly sealed their fate, a series of deleted text messages between Natalie and her maid of honor. In them, Natalie gleefully detailed her plan for the malicious projector stunt at the reception, explicitly stating she wanted to utterly destroy my spirit in front of Julian's high society family. Instead of trying to stop the presentation, I smiled and secretly met with the venue's technical crew the afternoon before the wedding. Offering a generous tip, I explained that I had a special surprise edition for the family slideshow and needed complete control over the master digital feed for my smartphone. They happily agreed, setting up a remote override command. My parents and Natalie thought they were executing a flawless, coordinated strike to permanently cement my status as the family disgrace. They had absolutely no idea that I had spent the last 2 weeks weaponizing their own greed, transforming their grand theater into a stage for their ultimate ruin. The heavy silence in the ballroom didn't last long, because my single-word text had only cut the power to Natalie's malicious presentation. Before anyone could check the wiring, the projector screen suddenly flared back to life, but the bold yellow insults about my life were completely gone. In their place was a crisp, high-definition display of my father's audited bank statements, the forensic accounting report, and the official court filings detailing the massive trust fund embezzlement. The room became so quiet you could hear a pin drop as giant text messages between Natalie and Julian filled the screen, explicitly discussing how they had used my stolen inheritance money to buy their luxury cars and finance this lavish wedding. I stood perfectly still, watching the horror slowly dawn on my family's faces. The smug snickers from the audience died instantly, replaced by shocked gasps and frantic whispering among the guests. Julian's incredibly wealthy family and his prominent business associates leaned forward, their expressions hardening as they realized they were looking at a family of common thieves and fraud artists. Natalie dropped her microphone, the plastic clattering loudly against the hardwood floor as she stared at the screen in pure panic. Mom clutched her pearl necklace, her face draining of all color, while Dad frantically signaled the tech booth to shut it down, but my remote override kept the evidence locked in place. In a matter of seconds, the grand high society illusion they had spent decades building completely unraveled before 200 of the city's most influential people. They had set the stage to destroy me, but they ended up exposing themselves. As the room descended into absolute chaos, I calmly picked up my purse and walked out of the venue, passing right by two police officers who had just entered the lobby to question my parents regarding the financial fraud. In the 3 months that followed, the fallout was absolute. My parents were legally forced to liquidate their remaining assets, including their upscale home, to fully repay every single dollar of my stolen inheritance. Natalie's dream life shattered completely when Julian's prominent family immediately broke off the marriage alliance to protect their own reputation, leaving her ruined. Today, I live a fulfilling, independent life on my own terms, free from their toxicity. Thank you for watching until the very end. I am leaving 2 other incredible stories on the final screen.